and sometimes don't have privilege of floor and work sessions, but if somebody comes and wants to talk,
Thanks, you don't have your time to get out of here.
Pardon? Mine's on, but
No, the speakers, that's where it's recording.
it's recording, but it's not.
Not transmitting out the speaker.
So would you mind talking into one of these? George, can you give that to
Sure.
Susan? Say what you want to say, and it's recorded.
Thank you. I'm here to piss and moan tonight, sorry.
Okay, sure.
But the reason why is I've gone down on the Wachtel River, as I'm sure you guys have gone down, it's a mess down there. And the one thing that I cannot understand as a taxpayer, and I'm here as a taxpayer, is are we all contributing to clean the Wachtel for that $13,000, that whole?
I've got the answer to that.
Good.
We pay, I think, 24% of the cleanup of the annual cost of the river. I shared with the committee down there that the town of Goshen would not contribute to anything that would be wholesale cleaning of trees. It's my understanding that it was $60,000 was involved in cleaning tree cutting, and that's come from the county. It's my understanding. It had nothing to do with soil and water. Their budget money to do.
Okay,
So we will be not paying.
which I'm really glad that we aren't, I'm sorry, one way or another, taxpayers are obviously going to end up picking it up, but
Sure.
even for the yearly maintenance, why is it, and maybe I'm wrong, that the whole town of Goshen chips in for the Wachtel River when we have absolutely nothing, except the black dirt people obviously have an interest in it.
Well, evidently this went back to the Myron Urbanski days, and when the first agreement was signed, it's how much frontage of the river is the town of Goshen, Minnesink, Warwick, etc. And we pay proportionally to that footage or frontage on the river.
Right, and I can understand that's definitely fair, but when you don't even, a lot of people aren't even in that watershed, and they are, as taxpayers, we're all paying for something that we really, I feel very sorry for the black dirt farmers, I really do, but shouldn't there be a district of the people that are benefiting from that are going to pay for it? I mean, my farm's in the Moodna, it's not even in that one, in that drainage district. I mean, it's to me.
But it's kind of like we pay out of our tax money for joint recreation. I don't have any children, you don't have any children. We pay for the seniors, and we supplement dial-a-bus. And they're taking the dial. I mean, so there are lots of things that we spend money on
that we don't.
That we individually don't take it.
And I can understand that. I don't have an objection to joint rec, the seniors, because there are people that live all over the town that are going to use it. However, when it comes down to a certain drainage that's getting cleared for the benefit of the people that are living there, it just doesn't seem right that the whole town of Goshen is picking up the cost on it. To me, it's no different than having the DPW go in and cut down trees in Hamiltonian Park. I'm not going to have someone at the DPW come and do that. I think that's what districts are for. I could see if they wanted to take money and purchase so that, people won't get flooded out, give them the option of purchasing homes or something like that, at least it's done. But, I mean, if you add up the amount of money that's been spent down for clearing out the Wachtel by the town, I mean,
I think this year is like $13,000 or something for 2011. I don't know how it was set up. I know how it was set up originally, but I don't know all the rationale or discussion that went on. I just think that people said, well, it's farms within the town of Goshen, which they pay tax to, and so therefore this is how it goes. But I don't. Beyond that, I don't know. Dennis, do you know?
I cannot recollect. It was many years ago.
I know it went back to because Myron was the supervisor when it was first set up.
Yeah, I dare say it's 30 years ago.
And it's a contract we signed.
It's just one of those things that irks me, I'm sorry. Because we're paying people along the Wachtel not to farm, so it doesn't pollute the Wachtel, so we're subsidizing. I mean, it just starts,
Okay, well.
so anyway.
So is that something you can dig out, not now, but I mean tomorrow?
The intermunicipal agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that
It
Bill
would
Standish
behoove the
has
board to
it.
be familiar with it.
Bill Standish, I think, has it because he checks that every time the bill comes each year.
Correct. Yeah,
So
that I'm aware of, yeah.
Or at least he has a contract. He may not have the IMA from back before.
Yeah, it would probably
Well,
behoove
we
the
have
board
it
to
somewhere here in
understand.
the building between Priscilla and Bill. We can get a copy for you.
Yeah, that would be great, because I've just seen, it's kind of nuts, sorry, but in a day when money's tight, it's,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, good. Thank you. You can save the rest of me if you like to. Oh, dear. All right. The first item is, I've got Bill Standish was put in contact with a person from the M&R Energy Resource Corporation. George put Bill in contact with this person. And basically, we're currently with a company called MX. We have a 6-month contract with them. And these are people who speculate, they go out and buy power, and then they resell it and try to make a profit at it. Okay. But they guarantee a fixed income, a fixed rate. So this corporation, M&R Energy Resources, you can see where they have Energetic, NextEra, and Direct Energy. And you can see that for the proposed electric rates for 12 months, the 6 cents all the way down to 5.5 cents for a 12-month period. Now the swing you see out there is, when I asked the question on that today, that says that, for example, with Direct Energy, if we were to add a building or some added costs consuming electricity, some facility, we could go up to increase the amount of energy by 25%, and they would still honor the proposed electric rate for the 12 months. Where the other ones is either 10% or I don't know what the full plan is. But anyway, you can look on the next page where the savings really calculates out to be. As of today, the 9th of April, they're willing to sell us energy for .05525 cents per kilowatt hour. Okay. We're currently paying 0.8990 with the current MX Corporation. So you can see that we're saving almost a third, actually over a third. And then if you look at the monthly savings from $1,566.87 in March all the way through the end of the year, it's $17,605.91, which is significant. Okay. We didn't get anything in regard to the 6-month deal we're on now. We got a little savings, but nothing like this. Now, this is the same group that was with the Association of Towns and Villages back a few months ago. We spoke on this, and the county was sponsoring this particular company. Now, she said, of course, it changes daily. This is as of today. Now, if we were to go with if you go back to the first page, you can see if we go for 24 months, it's a little bit higher. It's 2 mils higher, 0.05788 versus 0.05525.
Is that because they lock it in for 2 years?
They lock it in, and they're saying, well, maybe a little escalation in the price next year versus this year. My personal feeling is, so in essence, I think it's a $1,300 a year difference. I don't have the contract here. So rather than the second year, instead of being $1,706.05, it would be $1,500.09 or what, or something like that, or $16,000. point is that it's up to us whether we want to do it at all. This is really a significant savings. Or do we want to go 2 years? Or do we want to just go 1 year and then next year try it again? My own personal feeling is, based on the world situation and all the things that can go wrong, I, for one, think we ought to go for 2 years. But that's just my thoughts on the matter. When I talked to Bill, that was his thoughts on the matter. So with this, does anybody have any questions or comments or one way or the other on this?
Well, Dennis had the contract.
Yeah, correct. If I may, yeah, I do have the contract. I reviewed it to request of the supervisor, and it's standard for this type of industry. And basically, there is also protection to the town because it's cancelable almost at will, 30-day notice, end of any particular service month. So, should you enter into it, you can, obtain an escape, if you will, in relatively simple terms. You have to monitor it. They full service month and then 30 days. Otherwise, it's normal in all respects, and as the supervisor pointed out, it appears that they would, based upon present numbers, provide a substantial savings to the town. Now, also, just so you're aware, the reason I made that summary report is because Bill had spoken to me about it, and I think the supervisor did too, that it's not imperative that you act tonight, like the supervisor said, it changes daily, and so the quicker the board acts, the more certain your numbers will be.
I went 2 years ago, I went with something for 6.6, so I don't know why we got 0.88, whatever that is, but and mine had the same type of clause. You could cancel, even though they said you got to do it for a year, but if you can't cancel.
Yeah, it depends on the company. Yeah, Energy Direct is also soliciting almost all residential customers also.
Yeah,
everybody pretty much is getting the deal.
It says here it's going to start in July of 2012.
Yeah, because we have the 6-month contract currently.
Oh, I see.
That ends in June.
Yeah, now that's what I don't know. That's something.
That's
okay. I do not know when that contract ends or if there's any activity you're acting.
Well, I think. Well,
that 1 and 30. If that was the format, maybe it says 6 months, but really we could cancel it in 30
Yeah,
days.
again, not having seen that, I couldn't tell.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then one other thing, when it says it seems like we're going for direct energy, it says 2 invoice.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're going to get 2 different bills?
No. What that means is, today, you get an invoice for delivery charges,
right,
and you get an invoice for energy charges. And they're saying it's all, it's two, I guess it'll be, that's what that means is dual. I guess they both come in the same package, versus consolidated, the one above where it's a single one. See where like...
Yeah. Yeah, where it says consolidate, I see where it says consolidate.
In one invoice, so here you get 2.
So when you look at a gas bill, not gas bill, an electric bill now that we get from O&R,
right,
it has the supply,
right,
which is the MX,
yeah,
and then it has the
delivery,
and stuff like that. So we're going to get it on one bill, only we're switching to another company.
That's right. It's just like that.
Well, if you can cancel in 30 days, I wouldn't see any reason why you wouldn't go for 2 years.
Yeah, well, it works out to maybe anywhere from 30 to 60, because when you cancel, you must complete the then existing service month you're in, plus 30 days. So the ideal would be 31 days. It could be as long as 60.
I'll find that out.
Right. The point being, though, is it's fairly liberal being in this industry. And 2, why I brought it up tonight was that you can act on this subject to the termination of your existing contract.
Yeah.
In other words, if you wanted to act on it, obviously that's your pleasure.
Well, what's the start date on that one?
It can be whenever.
Pardon?
Whenever.
That's what she had in the contract today?
The contract is open as far as the start date.
Okay.
Because again,
well, I think we ought to start as soon as possible.
Correct. They're aware that you have an existing, and it becomes a question of you don't overlap. It's a question of when you can terminate or end that, and then this would pick up.
Ken?
Well, it kind of makes sense to go for 2 years. So the uncertainty of the fuels
Yeah.
you're using to produce electricity, don't forget, they're all going with unlimited control. So I would suggest we go for 2 years.
Would someone like to make a motion then that we authorize the budget officer to enter into a contract with Direct Energy well, actually, it's M&R Energy Resource Corporation, with the purchase of power from Direct Energy for the proposed rates, starting as soon as possible.
Yeah. But before you, my contract with Sites, the Direct Energy Business LLC.
But
I don't know what the name you would be.
I don't know. I just said Direct Energy.
Just said Direct Energy.
Yeah, the proper name is Direct Energy
Okay.
Business LLC.
Fine.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's a phenomenal discount, it's like 40%.
Yeah, I'd like to thank George on this,
What do you get
because
40%
even though we heard the same presentation, George has pursued this in his own home, and so where it's real, and brought to my attention to give a bill and say, hey, this is a real deal. So, okay.
Yeah, because Phil had a couple of other vendors come in, and we really didn't find a saving when Bill started analyzing a whole bunch of money.
Another one that does it very competitive is Con Edison.
Con Edison owns on Mark Rock.
I know, but but there are differences, you
Yeah.
got to go to New York, but you can do it.
I think it's called the Con Ed Solutions.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
And
but this is a fabulous rate.
Yeah. And in that resolution, shouldn't it be for the 2-year period at .05788?
We said it changes by the day, so maybe.
No, I
No,
said, as specified in this proposal is what I said,
Yeah, okay.
okay?
Which is the
What's on this
.057.
piece, yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
No, I have a question.
One item.
I'm sorry, George.
No, I just said one other thing. Naturally, electric is a big issue, but gas.
I was going to go to that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
She talked about gas, and gas is so cheap.
Okay.
25% what it was back in 2007 or whatever. They just don't have that kind of savings. They do it, but I think we need to look at that. She was not prepared to tell us.
Yeah, somebody out there has got to be able to do that. Because again, meaning, I know they have infrastructure costs, et cetera, but they've been around long enough that the heating.
Well, they do it.
I know they do,
I
but
just
not to
don't know
this
what
level.
to say.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we've seen this in the '70s, so.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's gonna be swinging over to gas, you're gonna dump oil, and guess what? They don't have enough gas, they're shutting the refineries down now. They stopped drilling right now. Just, if you go back in history, this happened in the '70s.
Yeah.
But we can't control it.
And just one more word for the board. I went over this with Standish today, so he knows what procedural steps to take to terminate the existing and kick this in as quickly as possible. If it works perfectly.
Yep. Luke, you had a question?
Yeah, by going to 2 years, we're going to start off at the 5788, not that we're going to start off 1 year for 5525, and then the second 12 months we go to 5788.
I'm not sure.
Because that's,
I'm not sure.
I think that's what proposed electric 24.
Do you have a 2-year contract over there?
I have it's a generic contract, but they refer to the attached schedule as proposed. So
I don't know the answer to that question.
You know what
I
I'm saying?
think it's going to be 057.
Yeah, I should
So
go back.
why?
Yeah, to protect.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Correct.
At first, I thought, I thought it was 5525 for the first year, and guaranteed 57 for the second year, but no, they're giving you 578.
5-7 for both. But again, that's compared to your existing.
Yeah, it's still lower than the other
Oh,
one.
my.
But that's a good question. Okay, the next one is review the water and sewer rate proposal to be discussed with the water and sewer districts on April 11th. And basically, I've done an analysis here, worked it out with Bill, financial analysis, and it's not the rates themselves, but it shows what I'm going to be proposing on Wednesday. But as you can see on the far left, you have the fund balance at the end of the year in 2011. And there are 2 negative fund balances there, Stonehenge Water District and Hamilton Plain Sewer. But if you look all the way to the end, to the right-hand column, where it's 2012 projected year-end fund balances, okay, you can see where we've been gaining because we've gone from significantly negative fund balances to negative fund balances that are lower than what they were the prior year, to include even in Hamiltonian Park. So we're collecting money toward being in the positive. And so, for example, I will say of Stonehenge, we're starting 2012 with $6,652 in a negative. We're going to spend $4,200 capital improvements. And with no change in the rate structure, they'll have a positive $7,609. That's because we've been collecting for these meters and other things all along. The reason why Stonehenge is in a negative fund balance today is because of the well that we built in 2011 and the latter part of 10. In Hamiltonian Park, I don't recall the number, but it seemed to me we were like, significant amount in arrears at the end of 2010. And we've gained ground, significant ground. But with Hamiltonian Park, we had to spend $40,000 plus on 2 sewage pumps. And so that brought them back down to a minus $60,000. But even with spending $37,000 on inflow remediation in 2012, we're going to end up at $12,778. And so with all those kind of things, you can see, I mean, Arcadia Hills in both water and sewer is in great shape. They have positive fund balances at the end of the 2011, and they're going to have even bigger fund balance at the end of 12, well spending $50,000 on I&I remediation in Arcadia Hills. In Scotchtown Water District, they ended at basically $27,000 plus, and with the decrease that we're proposing, they'll still end up at $31,700. So when we looked at all these and ran them out, it appears there's room to decrease the 2012 rates in Scotchtown Water District, Hamiltonian Park Sewer District, Arcadia Hills Water District, and Arcadia Hills Sewer District. And we're proposing the Stonehenge Water District rates remain the same in order to build a positive fund balance. Because in addition to the well, we need to do a little work to figure out why it's being contaminated. We would still like to put some meters in on an ongoing basis. In fact, I think we put in this past year 6 or 7 meters, as it was, of the 45 holes. As they failed, they've been putting them in. So this is kind of what I'm going to be building off of. So you'll see the rates that are going to be proposed on Wednesday night for the first time in a long, long time. Will be decreasing, and that's in part twofold. One is we've been collecting money. Number two is the new IMA with the village, where we really are not paying like we were intending to pay. And hopefully, 2011 was the wettest year in over 100 years in regard to I&I. So if we don't repeat 2011 or 2012, that in itself is going to have a significant impact on helping out. And then hopefully the $37,000 we're going to pay in Hamiltonian Park sewer for I&I improvements, and the $50,000 in Arcadia Hills for I&I improvements, that will yield something. So I feel pretty good about this. I think people ought to feel pretty good about it. This is the first time in 7 years since I've been here that we've been able to decrease anything. Other than Hamiltonian Park water, we decreased over 20% 2 years ago because they were gaining fast. But we just cut it too far. And so we need to slow down on that particular one. So anyway, that's what I'm looking at to build the rates off of this on Wednesday night.
Question, Doug?
Yeah.
I understand it says there's room to decrease Hamilton Park Sewer District. I look at the end, there's still going to be a negative
Right.
at the end of the year.
That's right.
However, you didn't speak, this does not speak at all to Hamilton Park Water District, which is 29, at the end of 12, say, 29,000.
Right.
Good, so do you intend to decrease that too?
No.
Keep that the same?
Keep it the same.
So then...
Well, at least he didn't put that in. We're going to stay the same because in the water district, we were going to lose, he's still losing. He's going to lose $6,400 from 35.8 to 29.5. In other words, we've got to correct that, or in a year or two, we will be in a negative fund balance.
Okay, so then there's actually two that are going to tentatively stay the same.
That's correct.
Stonehenge and Water
Yeah, you
District.
should have put in here.
Same. Okay, I got it there.
Okay?
Got it.
Well, good question. But this is good news. The fact is, the good news is getting that IMA and that settlement with the arbitration with the village. The other really good news is putting those two pumps in, brand new ones, in Hamilton Park, because up to now, we were spending anywhere from $7,500 to $10,000 a year pulling those pumps out, redoing them, and putting them back in. And these new state-of-the-art pumps, we should not be incurring that cost going forward.
Most of the electricity to run off pumps, because they weren't running efficiently, so.
Yeah,
That's another savings, not to show on the paper, we'll show at the end of the year for maintenance.
Okay. Dennis, you want to talk about the Goshen Corp tax search?
Yeah, I can use this block to speak about a number of these tax certs. Some of them are specified under minutes. Goshen Corp are the 6 properties which have involved my whole family, various corporations and LLCs. As the board's aware, we settled those cases upon agreed-upon numbers, if you will. And I have with me now the stipulations. Now, you have not seen these. I have resolutions, but I would recommend you do it Thursday, only because you haven't seen them.
Right.
And also, but what I'll do is they'll be in your box tomorrow on all 6 parcels. You'll see the numbers in our Excel program with the flow chart as to what the effect is to the taxing jurisdictions. But also now, like always, I notified the other jurisdictions that we were going to do this, meaning seek the approval. I've never received a response from the village. I'll follow up on that. And the school district is aware because they are the primary party. 70% of these refunds are from them. So just to make sure, in terms of
talking about
communication.
the fire department, the village, and the library?
A library and school.
Oh, that's right.
Fire district is separate.
Now, Dennis, when you inform them, are you informing Dave?
I inform the attorneys, telling them that, look, this is under discussion. We believe we're going to be in a position where we may be offering this particular settlement, or we have offered this settlement, et cetera, and this is the effect on your taxing jurisdiction. And it's assumed that they carry this back, but I can't promise they do. But I know we've caused criticism in the past. That's why I say to you.
Well, that's the reason I'm bringing up the
I know.
question, and, Dennis, I don't want to put anything on you.
I understand.
This has nothing to do, but I don't like that comment when they said they're not notified.
Yeah.
I would love to put something in writing and send it to Kyle Roddy,
Yeah,
saying that your attorney speak to you about this, so they have something, so they can't deny it, because I'm tired of seeing that reaction.
In fairness, and just in all logic, if you think about it, we do these by computer anyway. I'm sure it doesn't take a lot of effort to Carbon Donovan, who should be involved, and there.
No,
It's just as if I assume they could Carbon the supervisor.
Just a safety gap, so they can't
Not a
say.
problem.
I mean, the mayor is the mayor, he needs to know.
Right.
And I don't want to rest that David might not show up for that meeting, and we pass this Thursday.
Yeah, I know there's confusion sometimes as to whether they got the information or not. I tend to think it's time separation. Because many times they hear about these things months before they...
It's a fair size number for the village.
It is.
That's why.
Yeah, in fact, I can give you a shot. The village, $167,395.
Can we jot a note for them?
Yes, school district is 446,482.
Right.
And that was, off the record, negotiated by the attorneys, and the school district was ecstatic with that number.
Right.
So, even though they sound, in absolute terms, high, knowing the circumstances,
But it was several years, too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I could see the school being ecstatic because it's not more, but I could see the village,
Yeah, see, the village is in an awkward position, because you know how these things work. The village has got to write the check. Ours are spread out over years to come, the county tax levy. And the village historically has not budgeted a great deal of money
Well,
for
a piece of property like mine, Walls, to begin with, would be less on us anyway because it's direct to the village,
Right,
not
it's in
to
the
us.
village.
We get a very, very small portion, probably the smallest of,
Yeah.
I know we get less than the fire department.
Yeah, fair size chunk of this, too.
Yeah, actually, ours is, once again, we are low man on the totem pole. The fire district collects more from these buildings than we do.
What is ours?
Ours total, on all 6 parcels, and again, 2 were withdrawn. So you're talking about 8 parcels for 7 years, 56 potential tax years. Our $29,850.
And the fire department's about 31.
You got it, 31,884. I'm not sure what I should.
I'm used to it now, so.
Be still my heart. I was going to make a comment, but I won't.
So when you say it's paid, we pay it, the town
Right.
is paid forward, for how many years?
The county will actually rolls it into our levy.
Right.
County for 2 to 5 years, depending
Okay.
upon the financial
So
circumstances.
if we were supposed to get $100, we might get $98.
One way of thinking.
Or 5 or 7.
Correct.
Something like that.
Yes.
Simply.
One way of thinking about it, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Whereas the village has the right check.
They write to send to the school district, usually it's 60 days. Otherwise, there's other penalties and interest involved. Yeah, they write the check. And that's, that's why I believe the school district did establish that sinking or reserve fund, because, they knew things like this were coming.
Right.
Of course, the other thing is, the town defends all of these.
Oh, yeah, and
We
incurs the cost.
incur
Right,
the
there's no
cost.
contribution of any
Right,
kind.
the Eltry landfill, that's their share, it's over $200,000 between the regular
It's over
water.
$300,000. And but we have.
That comes out of our
Yeah, right. We have some hope to get some of that back, as you know, Doug, knowing that the school district stands to save $3 million.
Right.
The least they can do is reduce their expense.
Sounds good to me. Okay, what about LeBlanc tax certificate?
LeBlanc is also resolved. I do not have the papers, stipulation of settlement on that yet.
Okay.
So that, if possible, Thursday, but information speaking, that is resolved.
And both of these went through our certain committee, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they, in fact, so the board, full board knows, we have those committees, we don't even settle these until a proposal is made, and then it comes back to you even before it's resolved. We always have a hedge from the town's point of view.
Yeah, no.
Subject to approval.
Dennis, myself, and Phil met on this. If you all don't agree with it come Thursday,
Right.
then it doesn't go.
No, that's why I asked.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted to make sure that the committee had agreed on it.
Oh, no, we agree.
Yeah, otherwise you can't move
If you
anything.
look at the cost of really defending it versus the cost of settling it, it's a business decision.
Yeah, and just in that regard, one you don't have on your list, Woodland Estates, our exchange date is due this Wednesday, April 11th, and we're going to spend upwards of $8,000 on that appraisal alone, but we had no choice. We previously wasn't authorized, and we had to proceed on that, so that's a ticking expense, but I'll keep you posted.
Okay, the next one is reviewed and discussed the expanded Hamiltonian Park water and sewer districts and dedication of land and associated conservation areas, A and B. Anything in that, Dennis?
Yeah, as I spoke to Mr. Walker earlier this evening, I met with his attorney last week. We have resolved, discussed a lot of my concerns, and they're going to be addressed in a minor modification, I call it the turnover agreement. All of the various documents of dedication, easements, A and B, et cetera, have been reviewed by planning board attorneys, and I've confirmed their work. And so we're close to being able to make what I call policy decisions. In fact, in each of your envelopes is a copy of the turnover agreement, which I would recommend we spend some time on in an executive session, where I can make my comments and you can have yours. And then,
But this is not the final draft?
that's a proposed one. If you notice, Mr. Walker has signed that. That's a proposed one, but there's a couple modifications coming to that. So no, it's not final, but it's in substantial.
Is this the one we saw last time, or is this another one?
No, it's pretty much the one that was started and submitted back in February of this year.
So you didn't change it when you're meeting with the attorney?
I did, but I wanted the board to see what changes we're talking about, in case you have other ones, or don't even agree with the ones that I'm proposing.
Okay, very good.
I have to put my mind into recall now.
Yeah, no, this has been around for a while, but longer than Mr. Walker, I'm sure, wants. It's been around for a while.
Okay. So we'll talk about that in executive session.
Right, and now, so the board's aware, and...
Based on time, okay, we got a lot to go to get through this thing tonight.
I know, and again, as I explained to Mr. Sweeney, the attorney, and Mr. Walker, the target was of this Thursday. There's nothing magical about that. If we make it by Thursday, fine. If we do not, it will be a subsequent meeting. Question of, the convenience of the board and your satisfaction.
Since Mr. Walker is here tonight, and we don't have the opportunity to speak, you know what I mean? I just wanted to ask you a question, if I could.
Sure.
Okay. You guys were kind of chomping at the bit to get this whole thing resolved and get it going. Then all of a sudden, I hear, and that's why I'm looking for a clarification.
Sure.
We hear that this project now is on hold, and you have now moved to the village. I forget the name of the project.
It's called Old York.
Old York, yes.
Right.
So Old York, so you're going to develop Old York first, and the Heritage after that, I guess.
Well, Old York is a 18-lot subdivision. It's a small subdivision. We wanted to move forward with Heritage. We were planning that through last year, looking to get this agreement finished up and get things moving forward. So now we're at a point where it looks like we're going to get this agreement together, and now we're jumping right back on to Heritage. These projects, while this one has started, we got to get back on Heritage and get it going. I mean, there's a lot of upfront work that has to be done on it. So we're looking to move it forward. I got my professionals right now getting a list of everything together that we need to finalize to get it going. We got to get back over to, once we get the agreement together, back to Orange County Health Department with our water plans. So we've got a lot to do, but we're moving forward. It's not on hold. That's not really the correct word. It's moving, and we're going as quickly as we can.
Yeah, are you planning to do any physical work?
We do want to do physical work. We don't have any plans to do it right now. We still have other things we have to resolve, which we're working through. But once we're in a position where we can get back out there and finish what we started clearing last year, once we can get back out there and do that, hopefully in the fall. The issue we're facing now is we're back into the situation where we can't do any clearing because of the Indiana bat issue. That's between April 1st and September 30th. We can't complete our clearing. So we did enough last year where we can, once we get the water issue resolved, we can start putting in the sewer lines. We can start the entrance to the site and move along in that direction. We've still got conditions we've got to resolve with the planning board professionals as well. So we're got to get the maps done. I mean, there's a lot to do, and time flies. So we're in a position where we want to push forward and go. We were very happy to see the IMA come together in December, and to us that was kind of okay, now we can focus on moving forward.
Right. So it would not be, it would be likely that you may be doing some physical work on this project, Heritage, by the end of the year.
Absolutely, yes.
The difference being, though, of course, your physicality or your work that's contemplated would not necessarily be build out of any of the phases. It would be prep work.
It's going to be infrastructure.
Okay.
Well,
we wouldn't be in a position.
Another way of me saying that is the signing of the map is going to take place by the end of this year.
That's what I don't know is the case.
Yeah, we've got to get that. We've got to get that first section.
Right. In order to do any of that stuff, you have to have the map signed. Right?
Yeah. Well, they can do certain things.
We can do some of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Signing the maps, I haven't read this thing.
I understand, yeah.
Maps in terms of the I-9 work and the contributions.
Right, phase one, signing of the map.
Okay.
Now, as Mr. Walker knows, there was a number of conditions. Don't hold me to this. I think the planning board 67 conditions. It was a substantial number, and I think that's whittled down to probably around 20 now.
Actually, it might even be less than that.
Right, it might be. And so they're making tremendous progress. There are some things they have to do yet before they're even in a position to proffer the maps for signing. So that was my comment, George. Is no guarantee. I'm sure they would like to. It's a question of whether they do in fact complete all their work on the conditions.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to give, I mean, we've got a significant investment in the property and the project. We have to move forward. We can't stop. We've got to keep going.
Right. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right.
This next item is about, Susan, this is right up your alley, too, isn't it?
I just wanted to,
Oh, go for it.
you have a well on your...
No, wait, you.
Let's go to the next item. Well,
And I just was going to suggest...
They were all around it, and before some issues they had.
No, absolutely not.
You know, when they...
I think it was business decisions,
Yeah.
economy.
Just to let you know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry to be...
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have they heard back from the health department?
no.
Yeah.
Okay, this next item is, Neil Holland is our member from our town, the Moved Watershed Basin Group Committee. And he asked me a week or two ago if we had any, as a consequence of the weather and everything else that was related to the problems in 2011, do we have any examples of exemplary work by any of our departments that could be talked about to this committee? And also, it might be a great opportunity to thank the people for doing the work. And so, I wrote a accommodation to the employees in the highway department and also in the water and sewer department. My intent's not to read it tonight, but the fact is there were 4 major weather events that occurred that impacted our community in 2011. We had the tornado, we had Hurricane Irene, the Tropical Storm Lee, and then we had, last I remember that late October snowstorm. And invariably, we had a power interruption with Hamiltonian Park and/or Arcadia Hills, their sewer pumping stations. And the fact is that our water and sewer employees were very, very effective in preventing an overflow of those catch basins by getting alternate power there or getting a truck there to pump it out. The other thing is that, and that happened with everything, even to all 4 situations, but even with the tornado, the power went out in Hamiltonian Park. And then Public Works employees certainly were called into action to repair culverts, roads, removal of debris, and top on their agenda was to keep the flood waters flowing, to eliminate or keep the local stream turbidity, muddiness, where it would normally be found, okay? And to keep damage to these streams to a minimum, and they did that as well. So I ran this thing by Broderick today. He agreed with everything, and I have it. Okay? And my intent is to have the press called out to Highway Department, so we can, I can read this to the employees and to their highway superintendent, the person in charge of the highway or the water and sewer department. Read it, make over them, say we're very proud of you. You've done a great job for the citizens of the town of Goshen, and congratulations. And then see if we can get some press there. And then when, in addition to the press that we had here tonight with Neil, if we had the Chronicle or someone else, is to give them a copy of this and then read it into the minutes of the meeting so that people understand what we're doing. And then Neil's going to take this information to the committee and say, here's what Goshen has done, and oh, by the way, here's what was said. So, but See, I remember being out at the tornado that I went out there with Dennis Marsh, and we went zooming out there, and lights were out everywhere, to include Hamiltonian Park. And by the time it dawned on me, oh my goodness, sewer pumps, they already were out there doing their thing. And there was no getting out alternate power, and they had to bring in trucks to pump, one of those kind of things. So, this could have been a very, very tough situation for our community without these dedicated employees who know what they're doing. Who know what they're doing.
We had to shut down one of the roads for a whole week.
Yeah.
For that particular incident.
So Susan, that's...
And your area too?
No, I think it's really great, because you have some really great individuals that work in the
We do.
town.
And we don't, and I'll tell you, we don't, other than a snowstorm, we don't talk much about them. And they do a lot of things that we don't even know exist. You know, cleaning ditches, this, that, the spring cleanup, et cetera, et cetera. And we are very proud of these people. So anyway, that's going to be happening here shortly.
Do you have an intention for Thursday night meeting now?
If the press, I don't know, I want to make sure that I go to the, I want to talk to the guys first.
No problem.
The press.
All right.
Maybe the next go round. Okay, this next one is Sergeant Faust, who's officer in charge. He has a need to sign, let me read it to you. Discuss and approve a resolution to authorize the police department officer in charge to sign all DWI enforcement contract hours until otherwise rescinded. This is so we can receive the grant dollars associated with the DWI enforcement. And he put in this thing a resolution that they did very similar to this in
Deer Park.
And so now, Dennis, you've got one for us here to sign?
Yeah, just it authorizes he and/or you, as supervisor, until such time as rescinded. But again, for my own purposes, I assume that's what it was for.
Yes.
Again, I don't know the mechanics. I know he wanted this authority, but I placed it so that it was reposed in you and/or he. I'm not going to circumstances, but I should say the officer in charge.
Would someone like to make a motion regarding this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
Yeah, the first piece of information that comes from Sergeant Faust. Dennis, did you have an opportunity to look at that at all? It starts with Article 11.
I did. It makes no sense.
I didn't understand it all.
Me either. I got a feeling somebody cribbed that or took it from
Yeah,
someone.
we're not approving that, right?
No, it has nothing to do with it.
Because it talks about Schedule A.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. I get the same.
So we're just here.
Right, we're just there, all you're doing is approving, as verbiage recites,
Right.
the authority for the officer in charge and/or the supervisor to sign all the enforcement hour contracts.
Right.
That's what they're referred to. I assume there must be some kind of grant or money
So we
paid
get
on.
remuneration for it because we have a grant that is based on the number of hours we spend doing it.
Okay, this is what I didn't know.
How we
Yeah.
get the money
Okay.
back in the coffers.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
I have one question.
Oh, sure.
On the bottom of the resolution, it refers to, I just looked at it real quick, it has 2008. Is that referring back when we signed the last one?
No, that's a typo. That should recite 2012, Priscilla. Also, notice the absent appears under Supervisor Douglas Bloomfield's name. That should appear next to Phil Canarino's name. That's the computer, that just,
Yeah. And activities. The activities has to be spelled correctly.
I apologize.
Hey, guys, we're doing great here
This
today.
is the second whereas.
Second where?
We're on dates,
I think we should do this on Thursday.
Yes, typo, yes. Yep.
Yes, what?
Activities is
Oh,
misspelled.
yeah, okay, I'm not doing it. Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Kawai,
Yes.
Councilman Newball,
Aye.
Councilman Capella,
Aye.
Supervisor Bloomfield.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. Money in the bank. Okay,
It will be spent.
Don't vote again.
we have a special use permit, or a special event permit by the Hacienda Restaurant to hold their Cinco de Mayo event on May 5th, 2012. It's been received by the clerk's office, and we need to have a motion to authorize them to hold this event. Would someone like to make a motion in that regard?
I'll make it for discussion.
I'll second it.
Well, if they have the permit, if the permit...
It's not a permit. Permit's not required. This is just that they go through the process. That permit was probably the wrong word. It's part of our new program, but since it's on private property versus, am I saying this correctly, Priscilla?
Yes, and
Right. Now, Mr. Canarino and I talked to,
Sergeant Faust.
Ricardo of the Hacienda Restaurant, and shared with him that none of our policemen would be on his property. We're not in the lone policeman mode. And then he would also have to hire private coordination of his safety, whatever you want to call it, on his site. We've had discussion with Sergeant Faust, and basically have agreed that he's going to have one DWI patrol on that evening with the grant, which would make sense. And that, but he said for public safety, since we're going to have as many as 2,000 people there during the course of the day, that he put a patrol on just to be able to respond if need be. He wanted to, and I said, I'll split it down the middle with you. One DWI and then one of our own. And so he's in agreement with that. So that's the kind of police protection and coordination that can take place on this particular event.
So then, that's what was confusing to me. It says a special event permit. We are not issuing a permit. We are just saying...
What is the verbiage on that?
It's okay to have your event.
What is
Well,
the myself?
every year in the past, we've just okayed them to go. We've just given them a
request,
standard requested, okay, more or less. We haven't done a formal, like we did last year with the other festivals and everything, special event permit.
Right.
Because we have felt that they also get an application in through the wine and beverage people for that day. They get a special permit through them also. And we just haven't issued our new permits to them since they've been ongoing with this. It's been part of their restaurants, part of their whatever they've been doing all along.
But Priscilla, just for clarification discussion, but doesn't the rules change when they exceed the occupancy of the facilities?
That I don't know.
Because you just said 2,000 people.
For the entire day.
Right.
Morning till the end of it. Yes. That's what
what
they're estimating. They don't know.
I think what happened is the town treated it as an adjunct activity of their business. That was just a regular annual occurrence. And what's happened is it's gotten larger and larger. And again, I think you want to stay away from the sanctioning of Cinco de Mayo Day, as opposed to just leaving it as a private function, outgrowth of their normal business, and we patrol it to the extent we do for safety or DWI reasons.
That's what we're proposing.
Yeah, so I think what we're doing right now is the proper way to go. Whether we should be meddling in it in terms of police protection, that's another issue.
We don't want to get involved.
Well, personally, I don't think police, other than there's an incident, should be on their property to begin with.
Yeah, I have a real problem
That's always
with that.
been
Well, that's what
your
we're
own
saying.
security. No,
Yeah,
well,
that's what
it's
we're
taken
saying.
care of now, but I heard something through Rick, you know.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I think maybe supposedly last year, we did have policemen on.
Oh, we had it right in the facility, which they shouldn't have been,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. That's legal liability.
And we made that very clear to Ricardo, Sergeant Faust.
So we're basically acknowledging that this event is going to take place. That's basically...
I think what we're actually doing, we're acknowledging that during their normal operation, they have people coming and going. This is one day a year they have a celebration which generates more people than perhaps the normal restaurant would see. And in connection with that, we're posting or acknowledging that our police are going to pay a little bit more attention to DWI enforcement and/or safety reasons. But other than that, we're not sanctioning it, we're not approving it, we're more or less going about our business in protecting the citizenry, if you will.
In that vein, I think there's one other thing, I've said it already, but I'll say it again, I think there should be some kind of a formal contact with the state police.
Agreed.
It's a state highway.
Yep.
They're aware that this event is, and they should take the necessary precautions, and the sheriff's department.
Absolutely agree. And I told that as much to the chief.
According to Faust,
Faust.
they have been notified. That's,
Okay.
I spoke to them last week. I mean, confirmed with them.
Hopefully they can send out patrols.
Yeah, if they feel necessary, absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure. Yeah.
One of them is make it clear to Mr. Faust that it's supposed to be part-time,
That's right.
okay? And I had some other thoughts. Could we just bring in a part-time for 4 hours? We're not going to serve a lot of money, but certainly we'd save some money. We can bring in a part-time rate for a minimum of 4 hours for some of the events. It's not earth-shattering, but whatever we decide. If we're going to keep the one part-time